नमस्कार और आप सभी का स्वागत है आज के इस एपिसोड हिंदू जेनोसाइड वॉच में। हम बात कर रहे हैं, आप इस पूरे महीने हम बात करते रहे जेनोसाइड्स के बारे में, डिनायल्स ऑफ जेनोसाइड के बारे में। अब थोड़ा हम इस पे एक टेक्निकल एस्पेक्ट्स भी ढूंढने की कोशिश करेंगे। तो जब हम जेनोसाइड की बात करते हैं तो कन्वेंशन का जो जो यूनाइटेड नेशंस का कन्वेंशन ऑफ 1948 है, उसमें जेनोसाइड को ये कहते हैं कि इट मीन्स an act committed with intent to destroy in whole or in part a national, ethnical, racial और religious group। ये जो चार इन्होंने, जिनको हम प्रोटेक्टेड ग्रुप्स कहते हैं, इन चार के बारे में कहा है। और ये लिस्ट जो है ये एक्सक्लूसिव है, ये पर्पसली लिमिटेड किया गया आर्टिकल 2 में इन ही चार नेम्ड ग्रुप्स को प्रोटेक्टेड ग्रुप्स का जो स्टेटस दिया गया है। और जब हम इसकी ग्रुप क्लासिफिकेशन के बारे में बात करते हैं तो ये कॉमन कस्टम्स को लेके, लैंग्वेज को लेके, रिलीजन को लेके या विजिबल कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स को लेके इनको एक कैटेगराइज किया गया है, किसी भी एक ग्रुप इसमें कन्वर्ट किया गया है। जब हम नेशनल ग्रुप्स की बात करें, जो पहला है, ये वो ग्रुप है, ये इट इंक्लूड्स अ पर्सन हु हैज नेशनैलिटी ऑफ दैट पर्टिकुलर स्टेट एंड ऑब्वियसली अदर एलिमेंट्स आल्सो कैन बी इंक्लूडेड, जैसे कॉमन लैंग्वेज है, हिस्ट्री है, या कस्टम्स को लेके चलें, या कल्चर की बात हम करें। दूसरा है एथनिक ग्रुप। एथनिक ग्रुप थोड़ा आइडेंटिफाई करना इज इट इज इजी बट थोड़ा कॉम्प्लिकेटेड भी है। कॉम्प्लिकेटेड इन द सेंस कि ये एक ग्रुप ऑफ ह्यूमंस है whose members identify with each other through a common heritage, and that common heritage can be real or presumed। तो इसमें जब हम देखते हैं कि किस तरीके से इनकी डिस्टिंक्टिवनेस और इनको किस तरीके से रिकॉग्नाइज किया जाता है, तो वो देखा जाता है कि कॉमन कल्चरल जैसे हुआ, जैसे लिंग्विस्टिक हुआ, रिलीजियस हुआ, या बिहेवियरल ट्रेट्स को लेके हम चले। तो एक एथनिक ग्रुप actually is distinguished in particular by specific cultural tradition and a common history। तीसरा आया रेशियल ग्रुप। रेशियल ग्रुप्स में जो these are the groups which includes जो members exhibit करते हैं same inherited या visible physical traits। नेक्स्ट आया इसका कि जो रिलीजियस ग्रुप्स की हम बात कर रहे हैं, ये रिलीजियस ग्रुप्स वो सब ग्रुप्स हैं जो किसी एक पर्टिकुलर फेथ को मान के चलते हैं, या किसी एक बिलीफ सिस्टम को या ट्रेडिशन को लेके चलते हैं। यही चार के हम आज ये चार ही ग्रुप्स हैं जिनको जिनको प्रोटेक्टेड ग्रुप्स कहा जाएगा। अब जब हम बात करते हैं सब कॉन्टिनेंट की, यहाँ पे जब जितने भी जेनोसाइड्स हुए हैं, वेदर वो बांग्लादेश का हुआ हो या कश्मीर में हुआ हो, जो मेजरली जो सॉर्ट ऑफ रिकॉग्नाइज्ड है बट नॉट बाय द स्टेट बट एक्सेप्टेड एज जेनोसाइड्स है, तो इनकी जब आप इन चार प्रोटेक्टेड कैटेगरीज को लेके चलते हैं तो यू विल ऑटोमेटिकली अंडरस्टैंड कि इसमें से अगर आप दोनों को लेते हो, दोनों जेनोसाइड्स को लेके चलोगे आप, इसमें एटलीस्ट तीन जो रिक्वायरमेंट्स ऑफ बीइंग पार्ट ऑफ ए प्रोटेक्टेड ग्रुप फुलफिल होता है। वेदर इट इज नेशनल ग्रुप, जब हम नेशनल ग्रुप की बात कर रहे हैं, हम नेशन को लेके बात कर रहे हैं इसके साथ, क्योंकि हम कॉमन लैंग्वेज और हिस्ट्री की बात कर रहे हैं, कस्टम्स की बात कर रहे हैं, कल्चर की बात कर रहे हैं। तो जहां जहां हिंदूज ऑफ कश्मीर डिस्टिंक्ट लैंग्वेज, हिस्ट्री और कल्चर था ही था। सिमिलर वाज द केस विद बंगालीज ऑफ बांग्लादेश ऑल्सो। जब हम एथनिक ग्रुप की बात करते हैं तो ये क्वालिफाई बोथ वेदर इट इज बांग्लादेश और हिंदूज ऑफ कश्मीर, दोनों ही डिस्टिंक्ट एथनिक ग्रुप्स को बिलोंग किया करते थे, जिस वजह से ये जेनोसाइड दे बिकेम विक्टिम्स ऑफ जेनोसाइड और जेनोसाइड वाज अनलीस्ड ऑन देम। रेशियल ग्रुप्स की बात करें तो इट इज अ रेशियल ग्रुप आल्सो। रिलीजियस ग्रुप की बात करें तो वहां पे बांग्लादेश में एज अ मैटर ऑफ फैक्ट इवन मुस्लिम्स वर मैसेकर्ड, दे वर पार्ट ऑफ द जेनोसाइड। एक चीज समझने की बहुत जरूरी है कि वहां के मुस्लिम्स भी जो जेनोसाइड के बिकॉज ऑफ देयर एथनिसिटी हुआ, और जैसे हमने इस प्रोग्राम के दौरान डिटेल में डिबेट किया इस पे कि कैसे क्या आइडियोलॉजी क्या है इस सारे जेनोसाइड्स के पीछे, हमने कोट भी किया मौलाना मदूदी को कि उनके हिसाब से कौन कौन इसमें आता है, किस किस को वो काफिर के दर्जे में मान के चलते हैं। तो उसमें सुन्नी मुस्लिम जो यहाँ के रहे हैं वो वहाबीज, वही बाकी सबको वो कंसिडर नहीं करते हैं। तो जब हम जेनोसाइड की बात करते हैं तो जेनोसाइड इज वन ऑफ द हीनियस क्राइम्स अगेंस्ट ह्यूमैनिटी, इसको क्राइम ऑफ क्राइम्स भी कहा जाता है। इसमें जेनोसाइड, इसको आप समझिएगा अच्छे से, जेनोसाइड इज अ क्राइम ऑन अ डिफरेंट स्केल टू ऑल अदर क्राइम्स अगेंस्ट ह्यूमैनिटी, एंड actually it implies an intention to completely exterminate the chosen group। एक ग्रुप को completely कैसे exterminate किया जा सकता है, किया जाना चाहिए, जिस वजह से जेनोसाइड ग्रेवेस्ट भी बन जाता है और सबसे बड़ा भी बन जाता है। तो जैसे हम होमोसाइड की बात करते हैं, होमोसाइड में जब बात करते हैं एक ह्यूमन बीइंग का एक नेचुरल राइट है टू एग्जिस्ट। तो सिमिलरली यहाँ पे ग्रुप ऑफ जो क्लास हम डिसाइड करते हैं, ये जो क्लास हमने प्रोटेक्टेड क्लास की बात की या प्रोटेक्टेड ग्रुप्स की बात की, दे टू हैव दैट राइट। तो इसमें एक बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है कि इसमें कितने मारे गए इज नॉट इंपॉर्टेंट। द स्पेसिफिसिटी ऑफ जेनोसाइड डज नॉट अराइज फ्रॉम द एक्सटेंट ऑफ द किलिंग्स nor their savagery or resulting infamy, but solely from the intention. Then that intention is destruction of a group. So strict action and laws should be made against genocide. There is no other way, because the punishment has to be a deterrent to it. जब हम अपनी बात यहाँ की बात पेनोलॉजी की बात कर रहे हैं, यहाँ पे इंडिया में थियरीज ऑफ पनिशमेंट चलती हैं। जो थियरीज ऑफ पनिशमेंट की जब हम बात करें, देयर आर सर्टेन थियरी, रेट्रिब्यूटिव थियरी, डेटरेंट थियरी, प्रिवेंटिव थियरी है, इनकैपेसिटेशन थियरी। इनकैपेसिटेशन थियरी दो वी डू नॉट इंडिया में हम उसको यूज नहीं करते हैं, रीजन बीइंग कि इट इज आई फॉर एन आई, सो इट हमारी पेनोलॉजी से या पनिशमेंट सिस्टम से इसको बाहर रखा गया। कॉम्पनसेटरी थियरी है और रिफॉर्मेटिव थियरी। रिफॉर्मेटिव थियरी, प्रिवेंटिव, डेटरेंट एंड रेट्रिब्यूटरी, इन चार का मिश्रण है जो हमारी पनिशमेंट, जो भी पेनल कोड पनिशमेंट प्रिस्क्राइब करता है, बेस्ड ऑन दीज फोर थियरीज, रेट्रिब्यूटिव, डेटरेंट, प्रिवेंटिव एंड रिफॉर्मेटिव। तो लॉ जब भी कोई बनता है विद दिस इंटेंशन एंड ऑब्जेक्टिव बनता है कि वो प्रिवेंट करे, वो किसी भी क्राइम को प्रिवेंट करे। वो पनिशमेंट इस करके प्रिस्क्राइब की जाती है, इट सो दैट इट एक्ट्स एज अ डेटरेंट। अगर अगला कोई सोच रहा है टू गेट इन्वॉल्व इन सम क्राइम, ही नोज दैट दिस वुड बी द पनिशमेंट इफ ही इज कॉट व्हाइल डूइंग द एक्ट और देयर आफ्टर, सो इट एक्ट्स एज अ डेटरेंट एज वेल। इसी वजह से कि हमें इस तरीके के लॉज इन जेनोसाइड्स को रोकने के लिए इंपॉर्टेंट बन ही जाता है, क्योंकि यूनाइटेड नेशंस इज वेरी क्लियर दैट it is responsibility of any state which has any influence on other state where this genocide is going to happen, or it has the responsibility to prevent it, if not punish it. तो आज हम बात करने वाले हैं, हमारे साथ जुड़े हैं इमरान चौधरी जी। इमरान चौधरी जी इज बांग्लादेश जेनोसाइड रिकॉग्निशन कैंपेनर है, ये फाउंडर ऑफ जेनोसाइड रिसर्च इंस्टीट्यूट है, and Imran is an elected councillor in Northampton in the United Kingdom. Welcome to the episode of Hindu Genocide Watch, Imran Chaudhary.
Thank you. Namaskar, everyone. Good afternoon. I will try and speak in English mostly, but I will use plenty of Hindi and Bengali words which are understood all over the subcontinent. I'm really honored and humbled and delighted to take part with your conversation today, genocide laws, a preventive measure, and talk about my experience of the genocide. ये जो हुआ है मेरे साथ और मेरे वतन के साथ, मेरे country के साथ, with my race, Bengali race के साथ, irrespective of religion, Hindu, Muslim, Christian, Buddhist, ये जो भी बंगाली स्पीकिंग है, जो आदमी बंगाली भाषा में बात करते हैं, उनके ये प्रॉब्लम हुआ था 1971 में. The problem, and beyond that, the genocide has kind of left a indelible, a mark which you cannot erase it in my heart, in my body, and in my mind. And it has been 50 साल हो गया It's been a long time. I was during the lockdown last March 23rd of 2020. United Kingdom had the lockdown, so मैं घर में बैठा हुआ था. My daughter was working downstairs in the living room. My wife was in my office, and I was sitting in the sofa, and I was thinking what to do. And then I decided that why don't we use this time to write my experience of 1971. So जब मैंने लिखा शुरू किया है बंगाली में, I was writing in Bengali in the morning, and at night I was writing it in English, so that the same uh, ideology and thought process is replicated in both languages. Otherwise, if I do the Bengali first and about 3 months later, if I do the English, I'm not going to reconnect. I'm not going to be able to reconnect them. So I was simultaneously doing this. But I started from February 1971 when I was 10 years old. And by the time it was 17th of April, we became homeless. So when I went into the exodus and then the killings and everything, and I was wondering, I'm writing my memoir for people to know, people to learn about what happened in Bangladesh in 1971. And I, as an eyewitness, looking through that prism of 1971, what I have undergone, the sufferings, the hunger, the fear of death. You are running miles and miles, and behind you, the guns are firing bullets. You can hear the bullets and the artillery shells actually going and hitting over your head somewhere else in the front. And you are trying to reach to a sanctuary place where you can rest and you can have a shelter. So then I thought, okay, fine, it is okay for me to सारे दुनिया के जनाने के लिए ये book is fine. But मैंने क्या कर रहा है इसके लिए? I'm not doing anything. I must do something so that those perpetrators, those criminals, can be brought to justice.
Yes.
Because a crime against humanity is not a local crime. It is a humanity is all over the world. So if a group of people, group of criminals, a group of perpetrators are not brought to justice, उनको अगर साजा नहीं मिला तो कई जगह पे कोई और आदमी ये will try to do the same thing. And the humanity is always at large, is the victim. And the poor people, the minorities, the weakers, and they will always be displaced, lose their life, die in hunger, and nobody would look at it and nobody would come forward to do anything. So on the basis of that, I actually formed with few of my friends, very good friends. They are all from Bangladesh Liberation War families, freedom fighters of my same age. We went to college, we went to school, we went to university. They all said, okay, you are in a position to promote it internationally. We are behind you. Let's do it, because I think we owe this to the Bengali nation, Bengali race. Now, I have to explain this to you that Bengal is the Bangladesh. ये एक ही country है सारे दुनिया में जो उसको birth happened because of its language. There is कोई अगर कोई nation नहीं है ये दुनिया में जिसको the birth of the independent country had happened because of its language. So Bengali language is something which is very close to our heart. আমার সোনার বাংলা আমি তোমায় ভালোবাসি. The beautiful song or the poetry written by none other than Kavi Guru Rabindranath Tagore has been adopted as our national anthem. Now, to talk about 1971, It is one of the most heinous crimes that has taken place after Second World War in the history of mankind. In the shortest possible time, 9 months, 9 month के अंदर, they have killed millions of people. 55,126 square mile area of East Pakistan was encamped by the Pakistan army. They could reach any village, any small town, any thana, any district, any subdivision, any division within 30 to 50 minutes. So the planning of that encampment, the camp making camps in various places were very strategical. And this planning actually did not happen overnight. This planning was in their book, in their planning stage for a very long time. I would say, presumably from 1958, they were planning to do this. Yahya Khan very clearly mentioned, the then president of Pakistan, very clearly mentioned, मुझे बंगाल की जमीन चाहिए, आदमी नहीं. So that speaks volume. Where they have got this mandate of killing indiscriminately millions of people comes from the horse's mouth. The chief martial law administrator and chief of army staff and the president of the country. That just speaks volume of the mindset of those people. Now, what happened was we were living about 60 kilometers from the capital city of Dhaka, a place called Brahman Baria. Brahman means Brahmins in Hindi or English. It is a place for the Brahmins of our area. That was how the town was built upon. And that is where my ancestors come from. So on the 25th, I mean, February, the movement was very tumultuous. Pakistan was playing with negotiation, giving us the authority to the leader of the nation, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, and his political party to form a government because in 1970 December election, Awami League led by Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, the father of Bangladesh, father of the nation of Bangladesh, his political party won 198 seats out of 300. So in the overall Pakistan, his political party was the majority parliamentary seat holders. So by virtue of that, his party is supposed to govern Pakistan. But that was not the game. The game was in the name of negotiation, in the name of talking and finding a solution to hand over power to the civilian government, Pakistan army actually was planning, not planning, the plan was there. They were actually concentrating, bringing in troops. And on the 25th of March, dead of the night, at about half 10, 11 o'clock, the tanks, the artilleries, the rifles, the machine guns, the light machine guns, Sten guns started firing indiscriminately in the capital city, the then East Pakistan capital city, Dhaka. And the massacre of 1971 starts from that day. On that night, in one night, allegedly, I mean, these are all documented in the international hotel in Dhaka, Intercontinental at that time, because of the changing over of the power and forming a civilian government in the offing, there were a huge number of foreign journalists, Simon Dring and BBC and Voice of America, from everywhere. and they were actually staying in that hotel, and they are the eyewitness to see that massacre that happened in 1971's 25th of March. That night, people were unarmed, people were all sleeping. People were sleeping in the bus station, launch station, steamer stations, because to catch the launch in the morning. People were sleeping on the footpaths, people were sleeping in their houses, in their dwellings. Girls, boys in the medical college hostels, university hostels, and college hostels, they just indiscriminately attacked and started killing. Just imagine, in a built up area, a town which is 500-600 years old, started bombarding town with artillery shells and tanks. They killed 7,000 people and took away hundreds, thousands of girls, young ladies, women from medical college hostels, university ladies hostels, the various colleges hostels, the working women hostels, and took them and raped them. Tika Khan, the infamous Pakistani general who was in charge of that operation, he has documented proof. He has told that Pakistan army must impregnate as many women as possible so that in 1972 onwards, any baby who is born has a Punjabi Muslim blood in his bloodstream. So dilute the Bengali race. That was the plan that they have chalked out. Now, we were in Brahmanbaria. There was a small element of Bengal regiment there, and my hats off to them. Those Bengal regiment revolted against Pakistan army. They have no idea how many days they will be able to fight, because for a troops which leaves a cantonment and goes for an internal security duty, they are given with the minimum possible arms, ammunition, and ration, and every logistics. So without any order, without any preparation, without any kind of logistical ration supply, weapon supply, ammunition supply, they just revolted. So the country was the town was actually independent till the 17th of April. On the 17th of April, at about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, 4 Sabojets fighter plane came into that town and bombarded the town for 42 long minutes. Bear in mind, the only gas field at the time before 1971 was found in Brahmanbaria, Titas gas, and that was in flame. And as soon as the plane left, the rumor in the town was the town itself was sitting on a railway line which joins the port city and the capital city. It's a very strategical town in terms of communication. It's one of the main communication hubs in those days. And if you read about the operation later on when the Allied troops joined the fight, the Indian army joined the fight, this was the town through which one of the major push that happened in Dhaka to capture Dhaka and to organize that surrender. Anyway, so the rumor was that Pakistan army is going to envelop the town from both the ends, from capital city and from the port city. And the rumor in the air is bhag jao town se. They're going to come and kill us all. And we just came out, that 42 minutes of bombardment, we actually had no choice but to pour into a pond. We were dipping into the pond every time the planes were flying right on our head. and soaked and everything, shivering, hypothermia. And my mom just said, let's get out. We can't stay here because everybody knows that your father is in the East Pakistan Rifle. And if they tip them off, then we will be the first victims. So get out. And we just left with our whatever we were wearing. We didn't have no shoes, no money, no extra clothing, nothing. We did not even, out of panic and fear, and the firing was coming from both ends. Was a real fire. It could first time we could hear the massive bombardment after the planes left, and we left. That's the exodus that started. we I have no recollection of how many miles we ran that day, and everybody was running indiscriminately, and we did not know which way we are going because we just followed people. My brother, two younger brother, one was one was 8, one was 7, and my sister was 15-year-old, and myself, I was 10 years old. And the exodus that started. The about 4:30 we left home, so about it's pre-monsoon time, so the sun sets a little bit later, say about 6:37. We went into a village, and the first house that we approached, the gentleman, the house owner, were very magnanimous. They said, yes, we can give you a shelter for the night, but we don't have any place, any rooms in any of the rooms of the house, because before you, there are more than 30 people have already come. So if you want to stay, the only place we have is the cowshed. So we slept in the cowshed with straws as a bedding and everything, and got up. And from that day till that was 18th of April till the 30th of April, we had been to 15 to 16 villages. We took shelter from one village to the other. Everywhere we went, people were very apprehensive because the colloquial language and our colloquial language was not the same. We were like Sotham, and we were people were my mom. I'm not trying to show off or anything. My mom was a graduate of Dhaka University in 1954. She was in the government service. She was later on a teacher before the crackdown happened. So we used to use English words and all, and people become very suspicious that who are we? Are we the Biharis? Because um, Biharis were sheltered by us from 1948, but they revolted and they betrayed us straight away. They joined hands with the Pakistanis. So Biharis were seen as a very bad element. Yeah, dushman ki tarah, people used to think them as dushman, and they were actually. So then and every other night, whichever the villages we lived, it was Punjabi's Pakistani army was coming and cracking down on the village to find the young men who they thought would join the freedom fight, to round them up, take them away, and capture women. So every time, any villages we were in, and whenever at night Pakistanis were coming, burning houses, hundreds and hundreds of houses were burned every night. And we used to run. If you know about Bengal, the beauty of Bengal is we have 750 rivers crisscrossed with canals and khals and all that, and every village has a kind of a river. So we used to pour into the river to hide dead of the night in the paddy fields, and all water soaked, about 3 to 5 inch water in the paddy field, and we were going and lying down just to save our soul. And indiscriminate firing happening all over. They were actually putting this very light pistols, which is a flare which makes the whole place broad daylight for a few minutes to check which way the people were going. So that we continued for 18, 17, 18 days, or yeah, 14, 15 days. And then we decided that we have no choice but to pour into the shores of India. Meanwhile, my father was in the northeast part of Bangladesh, which is Sylhet, close, very close to the Meghalaya and Assam border, and no communication from him. So we don't know he's alive or he's dead or anything. My sister was in Dhaka. She was in a hostel. We don't know how she is, where she is. My brother was in a hostel, and we are living in this situation of destitution. Ye ek raat in one village, next night we go to another village, find some house and take shelter. So on the 30th, we decided that we will go to India, which is from the village at that time we were living was about 20 miles. So we found a guide, a very generous old man said, "Okay, I will help you to guide you to go and reach India. Come with me." So we started at 4 o'clock at night, and we walked up to Indian border. And meanwhile, uh, there was a road which is the main motorway, the artery of connecting uh, one of the districts, which is Kumilla district, to Sylhet, is the northeast road, northeast town. And that road was heavily guarded by Pakistan Army. Every 5 to 10 minutes, the vehicles, patrols were crisscrossing the road. So crossing the road was the most dangerous journey that we had to undertake. And every family were challenged. Now, there is something I ought to tell the world, that every family challenged, and the idea of challenging the families was to take away the young ladies, if the family had any, and check what is your religion. Now, they used to ask, who are you? Tumhara, what dharma are you from? So if you said, I'm a Muslim, then they would ask you to ask the person to recite some verses from the Quran. Even if they have recited the version of Quran, they never used to be happy. So they used to find out other means of identifying whether or not he is Muslim. That's very humiliating. And they used to say that you are not Muslim, you're Bengali, you are Hindu. You just learned these verses to satisfy us. So if you are lucky, if you are caught, if you're lucky, get you can be spared. And if you are not lucky, we saw stench, we felt the stench of dead bodies all around. We saw villages, Hindu village, one Hindu village, the Riot Hut, the name of the village, still, it brings a lot of bad memory. The whole village, all the houses were burned, and dead bodies was littered all around. The vultures, the dog, the foxes, and the smell. And we asked the guy why this village has been attacked right on the main motorway. It's even 200 yards from the motorway, because they were all Hindus. So we crossed that road, and as soon as we crossed the road, the Bengali monsoon started with hailstorm, northwester. It's a big cyclone, and we are 6 people. We're walking in the fields, in the paddy fields, uh, knee deep water, ankle deep mud, and you are just walking in between the paddy fields basically and the jute fields, miles and miles of walking, and hypothermia. My brothers were almost shivering. They were very young, and we had no. Luckily, we didn't have anything to carry. Only a small bag, not bag, made of with a cloth, uh, and no money, nothing. No, only the money that we had was few ornaments of my mother. That's all we had. And we poured into the shores of. We didn't want to stop because that area was actually the area that we crossed over later on, and today also it is perceived as the most battled that area had seen the maximum number of battles with the freedom fighters, the Pakistan army and Indian army in that area, that stretch of border that we were crossing, which is very close to Agartala and in Tripura. So we poured into the shores of India, walked into a BSF camp, and my mother used to speak very fluent Hindi because both my parents were born in Calcutta. She studied till 1949 in Calcutta, and my father was also born. But anyway, my mom spoke to the BSFs uh, because she worked in the customs and excise. She has previous experience before 1965. We used to have common borders. We didn't need any passport to go to Calcutta, but after the war that was cancelled. So my mom explained, gave her identity, gave my father's identity, and the BSF officers and the Jawans were so benevolent. I owe my life to them. We were all shivering. They gave us blankets to wrap up and warm up, and then took us to a nearest house. Mr. Dasgupta family, I still remember, and they didn't ask what our religion was, who are we, what are we. All they said is, go and stay in this room. These are some utensils. This is some rice, dal. There are some firewoods. Cook something. And this is the pond. Go and have shower in the morning. And this is your cook house at the back of the room. And I thought at that time, when religion fails, a Muslim Punjabi, a Muslim Pathan army, a Muslim Bihari is killing a Muslim Bengali. They don't believe your religion, or even if they believe, they think Bengali Muslim जो है ना वो छोटा से Muslim है. They are not a अच्छा Muslim नहीं है. So it is okay to kill them and annihilate them because they're not good Muslims, not good enough Muslims. So your religion is not respected by the people of same religion. How ironic is that? And then we pour into the shores of India, and that owner of the house never asks, what is our religion? Who are we? They just thought humanity is in crisis and give them shelter. So I thought at the age of 10 that still that thought actually what drives me today, that when religion falls into the wrong hand and it fails, at that time, humanity triumphs over religion. So,
सो आई यहाँ आई वुड लाइक टू इस टाइम दर्शकों से बात करना चाहूंगा जो हमको सुन रहे होंगे। इमरान भाई ने अपनी जब इनके साथ व्हेन ही वाज सब्जेक्टेड टू दिस हीनस क्राइम ऑफ जेनोसाइड, ये विक्टिम थे, तो कितनी एक मिलती जुलती कहानी है हमारी और इन सब की। जेनोसाइड विक्टिम्स जो भी रहा होगा, कहीं भी रहा होगा, ही हैज टू गो थ्रू द सेम साइकिल। उसी तरीके से मॉडस ऑपरेंडी ऑलमोस्ट सेम है। मॉडस ऑपरेंडी की बात तो छोड़े, वो तो परपिटेटर्स की साइड से हुआ, बट जो भी हालात उसके बाद पैदा होते हैं, कितनी एक सिमिलैरिटीज है। जो इन्होंने बात करी कि किस तरीके से जेनोसाइड इज एक्चुअली अ कॉन्स्पिरेसी एम्ड एट द टोटल डिस्ट्रक्शन ऑफ अ ग्रुप,
yes,
and that requires a concerted plan of action. ये जो instigators and initiators of a genocide, they are cool-minded theorists or ideologues first, and barbarians only second. तो जब हम बात करते हैं इसमें, again I repeat myself, the number of killings is not important,
no,
nor the savagery or the infamy, but solely the intention. and that intention is destruction of a group. So when we talk of destruction of a group and then the corresponding laws, whether in Bangladesh or in India or elsewhere, you are in UK also, are you satisfied with the laws? Are they able to prevent these genocides? The present legal system.
Thank you. Actually, you are very right. This genocide is a very pre planned, very orchestrated action to exterminate a particular group, a religion, an ethnicity, a linguistic group. So, this is very important for people all over the world should know. The ideology of killing anybody does not come easily. It has to be motivated, brainwashed by authorities or by preachers or by leaders. In the name of leaders, there are some, like Hitler's and others. So this is something the world ought to understand, that this is not an act of whimsical decision. This is a pre-planned decision. World at large uh, have a lot of duties overall to uphold the sufferings of the people and brought to justice those perpetrators who are actually created, who has created this genocide. The law at the moment in the world is touch and go, because bear in mind, the Holocaust, just Holocaust Memorial Day happened day before yesterday, and I was in there to celebrate from my town. And the Holocaust, because Holocaust is the only kind of trial that has happened in Nuremberg, but it was the perseverance of the people, the Jews, and the rest of the world was very. And if you bear in mind, the winning of the Second World War was a concentrated um, um, effort by America, allies, and all over the world. So that is why it was hot, and the sufferings were enormous. I mean, imagine 5 million people dying just like that. It's unbelievable. Their trials happened because of the perseverance of the community who suffered. And also, world at a time was not that divided. But now, for example, the CPPCG, which is the law for countering persecution and United Nations Convention, 152 countries signed up, 41 are ratified, and 6 of them in Asia, 16 of them in Africa, few of them in Europe, they have not. So the problem that we have in genocide law, Bangladesh was perhaps one of the countries right after the independence in 1972 enacted a law to deal with it, which actually helped to bring those perpetrators to justice. ये जो हुआ हमारा 2010 में ICT trial, International Crime Tribunal, we have got few people who were actively uh, taken part in 1971, colluding with the Pakistanis, the various religious organizations, political parties who were part of it. But it's not enough, because I'll give you an example. This is a book. It's called Hamdur Rahman Commission, which was a commission Bhutto actually ordered in 19 after the liberation was 73, 74, 72, to find out what happened in East Pakistan. Now, in this book, Justice Hamdur Rahman has categorically mentioned the ideology, the ethos, the we want the land, no human, that versus the impregnating the women. So this is clear evidence of a crime that has taken place in East Pakistan, then East Pakistan, but nobody has been brought to justice. The problem that we had in Bangladesh, I'm talking about Bangladesh because it's something which you can relate to,
Very
right?
easily. Yeah,
You
right,
can
right.
relate it to, in Bangladesh, what happened was 1973 till 1975, 76, even after that. The biggest problem we had, we did not have any infrastructure. We
Mm,
did not have any food because in 1971 the country missed three crops. We are a very agrarian country. Still, 65.7% people are in
mm,
cultivation of agriculture cultivation. So imagine, and the Cold War played a very important role in the birth of Bangladesh. We were very lucky, and I mean, we are so indebted to India for the help that they have rendered us. Had India not helped us, it would have been very difficult, and the timings were so bad that the China, America, they were actually waiting for a Security Council's resolution in the month of January 72. So had that resolution have taken place, then ceasefire would have taken place. Bangladesh would have never see the light of the day. So
mm,
that poverty, that infrastructure, that management and rebuilding the country actually took us little away from enacting those justices, because the priority was to feed the mouth of the 75 million Bangladeshis, the war torn. We didn't have the telephone line, we didn't have any road communication, there was not a single bridge which was standing, road or railway. So whole country was completely disrupted. So there were so many mouths to feed. Hence, I would say that we fall behind. But we were lucky that we could do something, bring those people later on retrospectively in 2010. But I think there are lacking. I was talking to, whilst I was researching on the genocide, I think genocide, enacting genocide law is not suffice. ये अच्छा नहीं है. You have to do a little bit more. आपको जो संविधान है, you have to enshrine a genocide clause in the constitution,
mm.
which I don't think, I don't know, you would know better than me. I don't think India has,
Okay.
nor बांग्लादेश. So in order, हम लोग जो आदमी बाहर में है, आउटसाइड बांग्लादेश, इंटरनेशनली जो ये कैंपेन कर रहा है ना, हम लोग के
Mm,
लिए we need solid foundations to promote the cause, backing it through our constitution, that we are seeking a reparation, we are seeking a trial, we are seeking an atonement, we are seeking an apology.
mm,
But because look at the constitution is accepting that a genocide has happened in our country, and the responsibility of bringing those perpetrators to justice lies with the onus, lies with the constitution and the people of the country. So as a representative of Bangladesh, I need to promote the genocide so that the world community comes on board. I mean, let me explain this to you. Sorry to bring this bad memory. I mean, you see, the other side of Kashmir is winning the agenda.
mm,
Okay. Uh, I was in Bangladesh in 1990, and I love news. I read news from the age of when I was a refugee, 9 months in the refugee camp, all the way did was looking for news, who is supporting Bangladesh, who is not supporting Bangladesh. At the age of 11, I was a geopolitical analyst like Brezhnev, Kosygin, Wu Thant, Kissinger, Gerald Ford, Ho Chi Minh, Mao Zedong, Chou Enlai. These were all in my lips. I knew them off by heart as an 11-year-old. Can you imagine? So since then, I have this hobby and habit of reading newspaper and newses that attracts me the most. But in 1990, the persecution, the genocide, the obliteration, and the ousting of the Kashmiri Pandit that happened right across the border in India, we did not have no knowledge, right? And today also, when I talk about it, when I mention about it, a lot of my contemporary people who are engaged in genocide trial researches, they are also not known. They don't know about what happened in your part of the world. Now, these genocide laws, I think they are not good enough.
Yeah, no.
They're not good enough. They are actually, I mean, I was researching before I came onto your program today. A senator from America, as late as 6 days before, has made a statement that the genocide in Kashmir happening on the other people needs to be brought to justice. Now, imagine, we all know who are the perpetrators. It's the same enemy of Bangladesh in 1971.
Mm.
The ideologically, the Punjabi army and the Pathan army rules Pakistan. There is no room for anybody else. The Sindh is finished. Balochistan is an open jail, right? Now the
Right.
Hajaras in Afghanistan, they are fleeing to Iran, going from firing pan to fire, basically. Now
Mm.
we know who are behind it, but
Mm.
they cry foul and they cry and they win those support from other people. Whereas, because institutionally, the country needs to back you, the country needs to back us, the people who are trying to bring those perpetrators to justice. We need the backup from the country, the enshrining the genocide into the constitution, and making this case of the plight of the Kashmiri people, right, to the rest of the world forefront. And thereby, I mean, I interviewed, trust me, since I opened the Genocide Research Institute, I interviewed a Jewish rabbi, and he told me, Imran, I had no knowledge that this has happened in Bangladesh. I interviewed another gentleman who is a counselor. He said, I did not know this is what has happened in Bangladesh. We had no knowledge. Now, idea is, you and I only can go up to this. It needs to have a concentrated diplomatic effort.
True.
The lawyers of the country need to raise voices. The parliamentarian, lower house and upper house need to enshrine this into the statute books and the constitution, and the anti-propaganda has to be challenged, and lobbying with the international judiciary is imperative, because whilst I'm doing this for Bangladesh, I have observed that we only seeking blessing from the people in the authority, people like United Nations, United Nations in Geneva, Brussels, UK. But apart from that, we need to create public consensus. The public of the world need to know. Public of the world need to be told the story. That is going to be a pressure group. If we form, say, for example, the UK Parliament, the APPG that we have, they are actually in their side, not in your side.
True.
So we need to have APPG. You need to have a APPG who would talk about your plight, who would talk about enacting the laws and making enshrining it, because this is a huge responsibility for anybody to promote this genocide. And the the narratives from the other camp is always visible. They have money behind it, they have power behind it, they have been very well choreographed plan. They are promoting their plight in a negative. Well, they should be the villain, they are trying to be the victim.
They are
So
trying to.
they are trying to be the victim. These things we need to do. And see, I'm jumping the gun. I think, imagine if you search on the genocide of Bangladesh in the internet, go to Google Scholar, go to Google Books, do a normal Google search, but to do a deeper search, we don't have academia,
Right.
we don't have researches done by independent, say King's College London, the history department or the human rights department. They should be, I don't know how, but the students should write about genocide as a whole and make some official references with bibliography, footnotes about the genocide in Bangladesh in 1971 and genocide in Kashmir in 1990s. Now, then what happens if those research papers are published? This will be spreading all over in the academia, and you need to get these intellectuals on board and create that synergy for the students. It doesn't have to be from the diaspora student, it can be from mainstream community students who would look absolutely on the humanitarian point of view and unearth what has happened in 1990, 1971. And there are references, books. I mean, I'm making a library. You can see at the back of my screen, I have all the books it relates to 1971, nothing else. So because of the shortage of space, I'm actually moving to a different. I need to have documents and libraries, printed one, uh, and then from there perhaps encourage students to come and research on Bangladesh, research on genocide overall, from the dawn of history, and genocide in Kashmir, and then let them learn about it, let them make some plans, study plans, lesson plans, and books of references and everything, so that they can actually have some kind of certified qualification on genocide, especially in our part of the world, special subjects, and then they can become an authority to do more research and create awareness in the academia, in the people in government, people in politics, people in humanitarian. I mean, I'll be honest with you, the biggest importance is we need to proactively lobby with the British Parliament, the American Senate, and the Congress, lower and upper houses. And we have to do in Brussels, very important. We have to do in Geneva. These are the places we need to represent ourselves to actually get our voices heard. And if you create that important knocking at the door and explain your plights in terms of writings, in terms of press coverage, in terms of press releases, in terms of press conferences, meetings, seminars, webinars, then what will happen is we will create a very formidable group of supporters who would promote the cause, because they could see the passion, they could see the feelings, and they could see that we are eyewitnesses of what has happened. We are not third party. We are not learning it of anybody else, because we are actually representing the past in the present as a eyewitness. So this is perhaps the biggest voice and biggest authenticity that we can achieve. Because bear in mind, I'm 62-year-old now. How long can I do this? If I cannot survive that long, it has to be intergenerational. People
Yes.
need to follow, but people will only follow if we promote the eyewitness. The people of the eyewitness can promote their real-time experience.
Sir, will you do the honor, or should I announce the alliance which we are going to, the collaboration which we are going to do?
Anytime. I mean, I'm like I said, look, this we are doing serving the humanity. Okay. And I would be more than happy to do a collaboration. I would be more than happy to. I've already spoken to a few university teachers, and they are trying to put me in touch with the various universities who
let
does.
let let me give the background to my viewers.
Please.
ऐसा हम लोग we are going to sign an MOU with the Genocide Research Institute. हम लोग बहुत जल्दी, we have already made the announcement that we are going to start diploma and certificate courses in atrocity and genocide studies. तो यहाँ पे हम पन कश्मीर एंड जो जेनोसाइड रिसर्च इंस्टीट्यूट है, एक इंस्टीट्यूट बना रहे हैं जिसका नाम जॉन राजा इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ एट्रोसिटी एंड जेनोसाइड स्टडीज है। अभी फॉर्मेलिटीज चल रही हैं, वी आर एक्चुअली वर्किंग ऑन इट। तो बहुत ही जल्दी हम इस पे वी विल बी अनाउंसिंग इट वेरी सून, probably within days only. The rest of the formalities, course material, everything is done with, and now we have to actually we are going to actually sign the MOU with JRI very soon. We wanted it to be signed today, but due to certain legal impediments हम लोग नहीं कर पाए। बहुत जल्दी इस पे हम काम करने वाले हैं। तो प्लीज इमरान, आप would you like to
G.
throw some light on this association of ours, and how are we going to do that?
I thank you, Titubai. It's very kind. I understand and I believe that anything you do, you need to do it collaboratively. You need आपको साथ same mentality की partner चाहिए, who can exchange views, who can exchange ideas, who can impart training, who can teach people what has happened. And our present generation needs to learn these things. And without academic support, we will never achieve anything. So, on that basis, इसके लिए मैं ये सोचता है कि Genocide Research Institute and Panun Kashmir organization, we will join hands together, एक साथ काम करेगा, और any students who are interested to do a diploma in genocide, we will work out. It's a primitive stage at the moment, but we will formulate syllabuses, we will formulate references, we will formulate books and lesson plans, and हम लोग मिलके we want to give diplomas on genocide for students. It will be online and it will be face to face, whichever way is easier and convenient. We would like to do, but we're going to start it after we'll sign the MOU, but we will organize everything, and we will come back with full swing in few months time.
Thank you so much. Now we are going to take some questions from our viewers also.
Please.
Rudraji, do we have some questions? From Nitin Dar, does India have a choice but to enact a law on genocide as Panun Kashmir has proposed based on the case study of Kashmiri Hindu genocide? How important will it be for India to also act as a deterrent for genocides in neighboring countries?
Yes, this is ये बहुत जरूरी है, because Kashmiri Pandits, the persecution, the torture, the displacement, and the killing that needs to be enshrined in a law so that it helps other neighboring countries to wake up and to not to do anything of that magnitude. And this is also important for the Kashmiri people to seek justice, seek reparation, seeks an apology, an atonement from the perpetrators. And you see, the, the, the issue here is Kashmiri population of the Hindu community, they are the indigenous people of Kashmir. Now, these indigenous people are decimated, obliterated, exterminated by outsiders to establish a different ideological agenda, like what happened in Bangladesh in 1971. They wanted Bengali, Muslims, Hindus, Christians, Buddhists to be killed, and those who are alive, they flew away, like you guys, what you happened to your people. So this needs to be actually challenged, and there should be a law. Kashmiri genocide should be absolutely enacted in the statute books so that people can be tried, people can be brought to justice under the parameter of that law. Yes.
Any other question? Why India is reluctant to declare Pakistan as a terrorist state? Don't you think many humanitarian problems will be resolved by the act? The question is from Biharlal Kohl.
Thank you, Ji. I cannot answer that questions because this would not be, yeah, हमारा लिए अच्छा नहीं होगा ये बोलने का, because it is, bear in mind, nobody, कोई आदमी दुनिया में, they all know about it, that anywhere there is a problem, anywhere there is a bomb, anywhere there is a act of terrorism, anywhere there is a suicide bombing going on, anywhere in the world, the first thing the FBI, the CIA, the MI5, the MI6, all the agencies in the world would try and unearth whether or not that guy who did this had any connection. Did he go to Pakistan? Did he visit Pakistan? Did he go and have, is he from Pakistan? So that we don't need to. It is, I think, well explained, because you see, the problem is we don't have any problem about the state or anything, but it is the mindset of the certain group of people. They are ruining that country, and the people, we have nothing against the public, public are the victims there in that country. But what they're doing, a certain group, a certain agency, certain element, they want to establish a different kind of agenda, which is actually unsettling the world vis-a-vis India. I mean, what has happened to Kashmir? You hear the wrong story because they are the one who are crying and talking to the press, talking to the media, talking to the politicians, talking to the lobbyists, spending money, spending budget. But we are just crying in silence. That is important. And Pakistan, we don't need to declare, people already know, but it is up to the government of India what they decides. I can't suggest that.
Any other question? How effective is the role of ICJ in handling genocide cases? It's not ICJ, it is actually International Criminal Court, and they have done a good job, at least during first decade of 2000. Yes,
Yeah, I
Imran.
mean, I say International Criminal Court, kudos to them. I mean, if you think about Bosnia, if you think about Rwanda, if you think about Central Africa, they have done an enormous job. And you see, if we all can uh, present our case with formidable evidences, formidable connections, formidable lobby proofs, books, films, and everything. And of course, the pressure groups are very important. And I'm
I-
sure,
Imran, India is not signatory to Rome Statute.
Yes,
So
I know.
we do not recognize. So that's the
Yes,
issue. We
oh,
cannot
I
force.
know
We
that.
cannot force.
That needs to be done. But I'm
Yeah.
saying that International Criminal Court has been very effective.
Effective, yes.
Very effective. We can't
And
blame
good.
them.
As a matter of fact, in 2007 they gave a judgment wherein they have said that the nations are, even if they have not ratified in their own parliaments, it is binding on them to actually implement prevention and punishment of genocide
Yeah.
convention in their local laws. So they have been very, and as a matter of fact, they have gone beyond the geographical jurisdiction also. They have
Yes.
suggested that if you have influence over other countries, you can directly get involved and prevent the genocide.
Yes. But I'll
There is
tell you
one
one
more
thing.
question.
Sorry.
There's a question: how safe are minorities in UK? UK is a predominantly Christian country.
Uh, UK is predominantly a country uh, where we are safe because I think humanity triumphs over religion issues. But UK is a Christian country, but it's not really um, overburdening or imposing anything. The religion choice is everybody's, and of course, if you um, are from the minority group, and if you are trying a different agenda which dilutes the ethos and cultures and aspiration of the mainstream community or as a whole the country, you will be outnumbered because your act is not conducive to the state and other things. But having said that, it is within the means and parameters of the legalities. Everybody is living in peace, and minorities are a lot safer, and it's improving day by day. And I think, by and large, UK is one of the most cohesive countries in the world where um, people rights are respected all around, and there are a lot of humanity that goes on here. I mean, it's a lot different from the perceived view of the world, I think.
Well, on a lighter note, the question was for an activist, but a counselor replied. Anyway, we're we are actually short of time. Any other question? No.
No, sir.
This one, Smiji, how do political pressure on UK help protect interest of minority groups and victims seeking refuge? Uh, Actually, this is a very gray area at times because um, we don't know who is lobbying and who is actually pretending to be a victim who where he may not be a victim, and that is something I agree at times that that needs to be checked in. I think the government and the agencies need to be very proactive, and there are lobbyist groups who are actually at times promoting perpetrators to seek refuge in UK, posing as a victim. That happens, and that needs to be challenged, and that needs to be, I think, properly checked by the relevant authorities. Yes, I agree. There are certain cases where a lot of criminals posed as victims and have taken the benefit of the magnanimity of the country.
Any other questions? No. Thank you so much, Imran, for this
So yeah,
introduction. And yeah,
no,
please.
no, I'm just saying that thank you for having me in your show, and I hope I have given you a synopsis and understanding of what happened in my life, and looking through that, how what we want to achieve. But I would be more than happy, and I would be more than grateful. We would be actually GRI as a whole to form a coalition with your organization so that
Yeah.
we can do something, some activities in the field of academia which is missing, and I think we need to do that. And with that, I would say I'll beg your leave, and thanks for having me, and
Thank
have a
you so
nice
much.
day. Thank you.
थैंक यू
Thank you.
थैंक यू
Thank
सो
you.
मच। और सभी व्यूवर्स का भी बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। कल फिर मिलेंगे इसी टाइम पे इसी चैनल पे। हम कल बात करने वाले हैं डॉक्टर दिलीप कोल डीबंकिंग डिस्कर्सिव नैरेटिव्स पे। तब तक के लिए नमस्कार और धन्यवाद।